They were down 2-1 in that series. They came out, they stomped Game 4, they stomped Game 5. This is a team that is absolutely clutch. They have the experience, they have the pedigree, and without a doubt, they have the skill.
And straight into draft, we've got a repeat of the last game. TF would be the last ban here for T1, and DAMWON would first pick the Jarvan. Maybe they want to drop the Jarvan Prio, but the Jarvan was working in the early game. They were getting early kills, but the problem was they just fell off.
It was, and I think it's now up to DAMWON to be the one to actually adjust, and they will. They will take the Jhin away. The Jhin has won all games in this series, 3 for 3, and they have got to be able to adapt to try to throw T1 off their game plan here a little bit.
Will T1 go for the Jarvan Rise here? Maybe something similar to what DAMWON was running. They want to early rotate the Rise. We've seen T1 on red side 2 games now, and they're going to early rotate the Rise 2 games. There's the Rise Jarvan coming into the Jhin lane. So does DAMWON have some kind of response, like a Thresh here, like a Jhin Thresh to kind of negate this Jarvan combo, to have some kind of answer? Because we saw how powerful it is, just the Zillion negated all of it.
Absolutely, and it almost makes you feel like they may be going towards, an MF again here, utilizing that similar combo that we saw from DWG last game. Is a really potent setup there. And do DWG have any other picks that they are really looking to go for? The LeBlanc makes sense as an answer. Could be something like the Xin if they want to go for, early power, similar to what Owner actually did against them last game.
Definitely think that in general, the Xin Zhao, that ultimate, that additional tankiness makes it so hard to play around. And Zillion now always going to be a factor as we head later and later into this series. Something that has to be considered by both sides, but now will they match jungle, or they risk getting that pool pinched as we head into the second ban phase?
Rakan, very interesting. So highly prioritizing the Rakan, so obviously it's not going to be the Maokai. This does mean you can throw more bans towards Canyon, try to push him down that tier list a little bit here on the side of T1. And will they go support or will they go AD? I'm kind of expecting MF. I do just think it combos really well with the J4 and is one of those high prio marksmen that are still left up.
Yeah, something T1 need is lockdown for this LeBlanc. Things like Nautilus here or something, or Camille would do very, very well, but I do think they're going to go for the MF on 3 you expect. But no, they're going to go for the Jace top lane and ban away top laner. So maybe they want to target a little bit of Khan's champion pool, take away things like the Lucian perhaps, or the Gwen to make sure Kana has an easier time up there. But yeah, I think DAMWON have a very obvious target now. It's Gumayusi, and T1 have a very obvious target in the draft, and it's Canyon.
Khan has been an interesting player to watch in this series, of course. Khan kind of the expected favorite maybe in some of these early lane matches, but has made the Yasuo work. The Kennen game was a bit of a struggle, but still managed to find some clutch moments in those fights. Now banned away, limiting what Khan can do to respond to this Jace pick. Wondering if we also see a Lucian banned away here.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to ban double AP, I think that makes a lot of sense. The Lucian hasn't honestly been that effective for Khan in this series. Even though they did win with it in game number 1, it didn't really feel like it was about him. It didn't really feel like it was about that top side of the map whatsoever. So, I would be totally fine with them leaving it up. Another ban towards Gumayusi. We saw this happen in game number 1 when they left Gumayusi's pick towards last. He's undefeated on the Jinx this year. They want to take that away.
Yeah, something that just came to mind is what if DAMWON picked Malphite into their comp, right, into the Jace, and then Keria comes out and last picks a Sylas support, which he plays. That could be a trap DAMWON might fall into if they go for that kind of blind pick. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, but you expect MF to get picked up here for T1.
And it's easy to forget about Keria's incredibly creative history in the context of a meta that did very much feel like Leona's and Rakan's and not a whole lot of variance. But this series has shown us so much new life for the support meta and the value of what last picks can do. With the Lucian now locked in, it looks like T1 are really going to try to push on the individual discrepancy in the bottom lane. Gumayusi looked at as the favorite coming into this series. Now they want to shut Ghost down. It's
so interesting to actually see this Lucian. It hasn't really been coming out at Worlds at all, unless it's a pairing alongside Nami. There is obviously the obvious one of Braum Lucian and things like that. Thresh is available if you want to go really aggressive, but it's going to be about this 5th pick support counter. The Zillion was so brilliant from Keria last game. Does he have another pick along these lines that can really be game-changing?
They probably see value in taking away Lucian to AD to stop Khan from getting it and giving him an extra dash against the Jarvan. So it looks like it will be a weak side top into the Jace. If it was a Malphite, I'd worry for the Sylas last pick, but it's just going to be the Gragas top. We saw Nuguri run this into Khan's Jace, I believe it was, in the group stage. And now Keria is just having some fun with the hovers. We know he has a deep champion pool, and he's paired with the Lucian. Lucian Braum would be great, but into Rakan, it will struggle. I think some kind of aftershock support, Engage, Galio, Nautilus, these kind of things would help T1 lock down the LeBlanc.
Taking my time, waiting. I know we can't talk about it, but there's a part of me that just wonders what's going to come through.
Okay.
It will be the Lulu, opting for a little bit of laning strength, missing out on some of the team fighting power, but limiting the assassination potential with a pick like this.
We saw this have a lot of value, though, in the RNG EDG series, where 5th pick Enchanter supports. This was actually really high value. They were able to dictate the bot lane. It's a different style than kind of what we've been seeing, but you can win that 2v2 very heavily. Of course, some of the risk here is that this is a very squishy comp overall there for T1. There's really powerful engage with the Gragas, with the Rakan. The follow-up from the LeBlanc and the Kiana is really, really good with the Jhin ultimate over top. So it feels like high risk, high reward here for T1.
Yeah, and ever since the Jhin first pick came in and T1 early rotated this Jarvan, DAMWON have invested in 4 dashing champions. So the only real target for T1 now is this Jhin to lock down and get the first kill off, but they have a lot of scaling once again with Lulu, Lucian, Ryze, a lot of peel back range champions to make sure they can win the fights, but DAMWON have great engage with things like the Kiana. If you're looking at the comps, T1, great 1-3-1, good team fight as well. Expect top and bot to have the push, whereas for DAMWON, probably contesting through mid with LeBlanc and with Kiana, trying to shut down this Ryze as we've seen through the whole series long.
And I think an important thing to look at in the DAMWON Kia draft as we head into this game is the amount of engage tools, the amount of CC they have to kick fights off, because we saw Jarvan from Canyon, we saw Lee Sin from Canyon. We have not really seen a lot of compositions that have reliable team fighting tools. It was a lot of 1-3-1, and this time, so many more champions that can get a fight started. A Gragas, a Rakan, a Kiana ult coming in from Fog of War. DAMWON can start to find these picks a little bit more easily if they do manage to get a lead.
And T1 has got to be bulletproof with their vision control. When you're playing against this kind of composition from DAMWON, you must track everyone. If LeBlanc is coming from a flank, if Beryl is flanking on the Rakan for an engage, or Khan or Canyon, these are all absolutely terrifying. And again, towards topside, we've seen so many times now, because we are having these ranged top laners, the value they are placing on actually brush control at level 1 has been enormous.
Well, Beryl will get spotted out, but has the dash, worst case. Just trying to give some info to DAMWON, and maybe Khan wanted to save his ward, so Beryl could ward for him if T1 wasn't top, and then he can save his ward for early ganks if he's playing weak side. But in the end, looks like no one will drop a ward, and Beryl will back off.
DAMWON Kia, keep our eye on this early game as they have a much more defensive 5-point start. Of course, don't forget to grab your exclusive Oh My Days Prime Gaming emote so you can flex while you're in your next game. Khan, of course, not going to get a lot of opportunities to flex here on the top side. He's been playing weak side, and I think it's such a difficult position to be in if you are Khan, because you know that this is a do-or-die game. And most importantly, this is a do-or-die game in your final season.
This is his do-or-die year, right? You know, this is the kind of the last dance here for Khan. Has been such a successful player regionally, never got that international title. He is now on the favorites. Everyone expecting DAMWON coming into playoffs to be the one to win it. But now you're at match point here against T1. You've got to step up.
And again, trust in your team to know that, hey, I'm going to play weak side. We're going to have to find advantages somewhere else. Or we're going to have to find setup on the top side with this Gragas, because this is not the champion that you instantly carry games on from the laning phase.
Yeah, and we've seen him on Graves, we've seen him on Lucian, and this is the first time this series, maybe even this whole tournament long, that we see him on some kind of weak side champ to just negate the Jay's lane phase and be there for team fights. But both junglers pathing top once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's played Graves, Jax, Jace, Lucian. He's played the Kennen as well, and the Gwen. So, you know, really none of those weak side champions. It is interesting that he's gone Phase Rush instead of the Comet. Comet is much more common into these range matchups. And it does make me wonder if, okay, if you think you're going to be playing weak side, do you go a more tanky utility style build here and just play with Phase Rush? Or will he still go to what is very standard in the Everfrost?
Let's keep our eyes out for it, because lockdown would be really important, especially on a mobile Ryze. Something we've been talking about the whole series long, and that Gragas will add more to it. Feels like DAMWON have a lot more engaged tools to work with, but as expected, both side lanes have the push, both junglers pathing towards top. Owner will finish his red and will be a little bit faster than Canyon for now, and mid lane is where Canyon's been focusing this game.
Showmaker hitting level 3 first, but Faker hitting it right in time to try to trade back. Relatively even, all things considered. You can see Gumiuchi and Keria, though, doing so much damage on the bottom side. Of course, Lucian's solo lane hit heavily over the patches leading into Worlds, but the bot lane very much improved, especially alongside these Enchanter supports. Now Owner, however, has top lane priority and is confident enough to move in for this objective. Canyon coming in the area, though. It might just come down to a smite fight. Both of them have it up and available.
Faker has TP, so
Showmaker's moving.
Owner puts his E down. Faker can TP to it, but he will back off. The crab spawning in 3 seconds. Does Showmaker want to stay around and maybe pull Canyon to contest this? No, looks like he's just going to back off.
Yeah, I think if Showmaker stays there, you risk actually losing a lot of minions on the push-in from Faker. So instead, just wants to complete the base, does want to go back. Nice little bit of pressure attempted by Owner, but not able to really get anything here, and spending a decent amount of time over towards that. Doesn't want to go straight down towards bot side, but they do have the push in bot pretty much permanently, so he should be able to retreat over to that scuttle.
Taking his time, double scuttle, definitely not a bad start to have, as Gumayusi and Keria can pretty much indefinitely hold up this pressure on the bottom side. We're going to be much more favored in the 2v2. If jungle attention does make its way down to the bottom lane, if Canyon can show up with some of that setup CC, you know, they are a bit vulnerable, but the fact that they have the exhaust and Gumayusi does make so many of these plays that much easier.
Yeah, so Canyon based after clearing his top camps and is running towards the bot side second respawn, and Owner stayed around on the map. He cleared out his Raptors, he's moving to this bot crab. Faker had mid push, put a pink down, they still have bot push, so that's going to be double crab for Owner. Canyon pushed back in this early game. 2 wards invested from DAMWON on the top side in their own jungle, so not a lot of information to work with here for DAMWON.
It's also worth noting that T1's bot lane is actually playing Exhaust Ignite, so there is no heal, there is no cleanse. You know, there's that kind of lack of summoner that you do expect. And it can be very powerful, but I mean, there is the potential to really burst down some of these champions despite having Guardian.
Yeah, both sides matching here. Ghost and Barrel also prepared for that. Of course, Ghost at this point in the game, probably not enough damage to get through the Lulu as well. Khan not notoriously the highest damage support, but again, Canyon on the bottom side is always going to pose a threat. Of course, he's there too late to try to contest the Scuttle Crab, as we see Khan getting pushed in here, but with Kana out of mana, might be a bit easier for Khan to hold the wave. That said, Kana not afraid. Happy to step up here, knowing the Canyon's on the bottom side, can push in, maybe start to lay down some damage and try to get a play.
Look at Showmaker though, he just placed a pink in the top side river. Looks like the Scuttle Crab vision will run out and Khan will probably have to base after that trade. You imagine Kana might want to try to fast push this and base himself and save TP. If he can get TP advantage in this lane, that really helps him to play more aggressive. Will push in the wave. I expect maybe Khan wants to TP back onto it to make sure that there's a TP trade-off.
Kana should push in. Khan, expect to see it come out. Boots of Lucidity early on. Again, feels not very much playing for lane here. Boots of Lucidity just for a little bit of extra CDR. Very important on the Gragas. Of course, want to get those cooldowns as low as humanly possible. But Kana now, with a potential TP advantage, if Khan cannot force this wave out fast enough, could be big for the bottom side of the map.
TP stop.
Faker could be in trouble here if they can land the chain. Canyon is in the area they're going.
Locking him down, going through the chain. Will connect Canyon in the area. That's the Water Blade coming through. Level 6 Faker, not nearly enough. One more auto. First blood for Showmaker.
Yeah, really clean execution there from DAMWON. Canyon flashing forwards to make sure the route lands. Really good chain coming out from Showmaker. And maybe if Kana saved TP there, he could have matched this play and made sure it's a 1-for-1. Owner's around and he's not spotted just yet. Faker doesn't have TP, of course.
Owner a lot of damage on that initial combo, but if he whiffs, it's going to go bad. He does not, however. Hits it when it counts and finds the kill back.
Nicely done there by Owner. Is able to clean up a kill and going to get a lot of experience here too on the Jarvan. So should put him actually pretty significantly ahead of Canyon. He's already up farm. He's now level 6, just soaking XP there mid, and has the kill gold to his name.
Yeah, he's going to take away the vision from DAMWON in the top side as well, taking away the pinks. He can start to threaten invades on the top side jungle or some kind of dives top lane. So with Canyon going to his second respawn bot side, Khan is on the weak side, tries to land the ultimate there to push him back to get a good trade onto Kana as we look at this play again.
Yeah, you can see it one more time. It's just all about the setup here. Faker, as soon as that chain lands, he tries to flash, but you're never going to create enough distance. Canyon flashing in, immediate follow-up. Just really well done there from DAMWON.
Yeah, no, there's a pink ward right there, but he hugs the wall as he moves around into river, so you can't actually get vision of him. Spots out Canyon going towards his top side camps, lands the EQ, auto attack, and the whip finishes him off.
And clearly just knowing the damage thresholds there, knowing he could actually pick that up was really well done.
They're feeling themselves after those kills. Showmaker going, whoa! You love to see it as Faker looking for Khan.
On, debating if he wants to step forward here. Recall will not get canceled as Faker takes the blast cone out to safety, but important to note, DWG Kia, again, the pressure is on them to find the win here. T1 have the luxury of losing another game, of going to game 5 before they have to be concerned. Can play this one out with a lot of confidence, pretty comfortably comparatively.
Yeah, topside is a little bit of a concerning disadvantage, though. You know, Khan had taken some really bad trades. Kana doing a good job actually pressuring him very heavily on this Gragas. The Lucidity Boot's not going to do a ton for that laning power, so, you know, after he was forced back off the TP, he did lose a plate. He did lose about 2 full waves in the disadvantage, and now Keria just trying to farm up that Spell Thieves.
And as we saw the mid-wave die and go to Owner, he got an XP advantage, but Faker's down a level, and Showmaker we saw was quite ahead in gold with the kill and with the CS difference. And Showmaker this year, including this series, is 10-1 on LeBlanc right now. He's only ever lost one singular game. So definitely quite a scary opponent to have on LeBlanc, because Owner's just going to start up this Herald. Keria has moved here, and the problem T1 have had this series is Faker can't contest mid-push because he's isolated so easily by the setup of DAMWON's mid-jungle. So they use their side laners to move mid and then start the objective to help Faker get to it himself. But right now he looks a little bit zoned away. Might turn into some kind of 4v4.
Lots going to come down to how the J4 and the Qiyana ultimates are used Tons of burst damage on both sides if they can find a single target to isolate. Con over the wall, a lot more immediate utility. Does mean a trade-off in damage, but it is just going to be the concession here, giving up the Herald. T1 not wanting to overpush for that one.
I just felt like the positioning from Beryl was too good. Him playing in the pit there pretty much stops you from being able to move forward whatsoever. If T1 all step forward to actually try to contest that Herald take, well, it's a free engage for Beryl over the wall with his ultimate available, so T1, that is one of the disadvantages you have in these early skirmishes. Enchanters like Lulu early game are just so much weaker than that of the Rakan.
And a lot of the times during the series, the reason T1 can walk up and contest these Heralds is because they have something that makes DAMWON scared. Lissandra ultimates, a Cannon on the flank, some kind of engage from their support, so they have to back away. But in that case, they didn't really have anything to threaten DAMWON to push them back. Faker was isolated off to the side. Jace could only really poke, so you're just looking at a Jarvan engage with a Lulu ultimate, so not a lot of damage. DAMWON not showing any signs of fear here, even though they're down match points, will secure themselves a Herald.
And I think it's good that you highlight the J4 here in this context, because the champion has been incredibly good against teams with a lot of immobile AD carries, or immobile carries rather. And while there is a Jhin on the side of DAMWON Kia, both Showmaker and Canyon highly mobile, very easy for them to get out of that Cataclysm, not nearly the reliable engage of the Lissandra like you highlighted, and really pressure on Owner to get something done. He has been a standout in the series thus far, but this champion, if you start to fall behind, feels a lot less impactful.
You also don't really have dive buddies in this composition, so it feels more like one of those games where you ult in and then you just flag and drag back, and you're kind of just using it to create space to try to lock someone down, allow your carries to really follow up, because there's no dive buddy here. You're not going to just ult into the backline and one-shot someone with the follow-through.
Yeah, 4 ranged champions if you count Jace on the side of T1 with the Jarvan. And we talked a lot about teamfights being kind of decided by T1 when they're running the Yasuo comps and the Kennen comps. The second they pull the trigger, DAMWON kites back with their single target damage and then re-engages with things like Draven. This time around, it's the opposite way around. DAMWON have been the ones to look for the engage with Rakan, with Gragas, with Kiana. And T1, the only real zone they have is the Jarvan ult, as Azael correctly pointed out there, and he'll just EQ away. So need to make sure these 4 ranged champions can get back far enough to dodge the engage from DAMWON and then turn with the damage from the culling, from the roots, from the Everfrost.
And something that DAMWON is so good at doing is not just executing on these engages, but threatening them. Their setup around objectives is one of the things that anyone who plays against them will talk about, how it feels so oppressive to try to walk over to a dragon, because DAMWON clear out vision effectively. They sweep out any possible TP wards. They're playing from multiple angles, which makes it really difficult to approach with one of these style of compositions that T1 has.
Yeah, they just choke you out of your own jungle, and then they just have creativity to facilitate their setup, whether they're looking for single picks, whether they're looking for flank engages with things like the Kennen. They know what they want to do, and they're very decisive around how they approach the objective, whether it's starting or turning or committing to the objective and getting out or looking for picks. And DAMWON still control towards the top side, still have Herald in their back pockets, and similar to last game, Keria is just being the defensive tool to try to negate any kind of play.
DAMWON Kia pushing in on the top side of the map, playing with confidence, certainly have more than enough CC to lock up and take down a single member, but it is T1 who are on match point. T1 the expected underdogs in this series, a team full of rookies. Outside of Faker and Keria, every player getting trained on this lineup, but now the double chain's coming in. Second chain gonna lack Beryl there with the ball. Canyon ready to go in, moving through with the water blade and finding the kill. It's a clean dive from DAMWON Kia.
Yeah, as expected, once again, you're playing an immobile mage in Rise with no flash now in the mid lane. TP coming up to Gumayushi. That's gonna be
Khan coming in. Here comes the Gragas. Body slam, can leap forward, trying to fire back with a little bit of damage onto Ghost. Immediately gets interrupted. Gale Force through will not be enough, and Ghost gonna grab the kill.
DAMWON off to a good early game start here. They have the Herald. They're going to get the Dragon once again. Neutral objectives always going in DAMWON's favor, it feels like this series. And again, we talked about it. Immobile Mage into LeBlanc, into Rakan, into Kiana. Have to play so safe. Faker dying twice now. Gumayushi was winning out in the isolated bot 1v1. Gets TP'd on and dies. And now all of this winning lane in bot that you once had that's kept T1 with push in top because Keria can move there has now faded away.
And part of the difficulty is that because DAMWON actually took the Herald early, Keria hasn't been able to lane. They haven't been able to utilize that 2v2 advantage. He's been trying to match these plays, and Faker could be in trouble.
And if the man just connects, Faker could be in trouble, but he's still, there's just too much CC. It's a pile-in. Faker instantly taken down. Owner on the way in. DAMWON Kia, a lot of members standing under this tower, but still, Jace in the meantime is getting a lot of advantages on the top side, taking down plates, but DAMWON Kia might just break the first tower of the game. It's a bit of a race here, multiple members in the mid lane, but that last plate's so strong when there's so many members in the area, and T1 will be able to grab the first tower of the game. Kana just barely finishing that one off.
Yeah, you can see the gold there. Kana's up 1.3k gold, whereas Faker is down almost 2k gold in the mid lane, and there's really not much he can do. Well, the only thing that can happen is Owner and Keria can play to protect Faker in the mid lane, but DAMWON are always the ones to find options to play aggressive in the mid jungle and and support 3v3.
And this is why it's feeling so much more like Game 1, where DAMWON was the one that was the aggressive team. T1 was having to be on the back foot, having to actually respond to these plays from DAMWON, and just were unable to do it. They're so good when they're dictating the pace of the game, when they're choosing these plays. The trap triggers the W, nails the root, the TP comes through, and there's just really no way out of this one for them.
Great early game map plays coming in here for DAMWON, and feels like DAMWON can kind of do this on every wave in mid lane, and you have to think back to previous games that T1 played with the creativity in draft. When they give over things like LeBlanc, they're ready to match with Lissandra, but this early rotation rise allows now DAMWON to counter-pick mid lane, have a setup jungler, and control the early game. But for now, it looks like T1 are there to contest. 3 minutes on the next dragon. Herald spawning once again soon.
And you can see that DAMWON just look like a very different team when they have this much agency, this many champions who can get fights started on their own. The Rakan, the Qiyana, the Gragas. But T1 looking to collapse, looking to punish. Gumayushi still strong, all things considered in the 1v1 matchup. Ghost, Ninja Tabby, not Ninja Tabby, sorry, Plated Steel Caps.
No, you got it right the first time.
Yeah, I feel, you know, I'm old school that way. I'm holding on to that one. Owner going to body block the shots though, and T1, good use of their man advantage on the bottom side, getting a lot of pressure down. It's Kana who's going to need to survive, rather, on the top side. So you have Canyon and Khan in the area.
The minimap just tells the story of the draft and of the game, right? 2 towers down on side lanes for T1 with winning sides, and mid lane tower about to fall for DAMWON. It just shows both win conditions perfectly on how the map plays out for both these teams. DAMWON going to get the next Herald, so 3 neutral objectives in their pocket now. Showmaker will dash away from Owner.
I'm really concerned about how they're going to keep Faker relevant in this game. I mean, he's just so far behind at this point. He's not going to be a threat whatsoever. You know, he is building the utility with the Merc Treads, and now they got to catch.
Oh, Owner going to make it out to safety, but Showmaker's getting scarier and scarier. Already has the Luden's Echo on top of the Sork shoes. He is looking to one-shot people in this game.
I mean, Faker's level 9, right? You know, he's the same level as the bot laners. The support's almost catching him at this point, and he is going to be so far off as Everfrost. And really, on Rise, you're looking towards 2 items before you start to become that bigger threat, and that is just so far away.
Looks like T1 will try to salvage the issue by putting Faker on a side lane, giving Gumayushi the mid push to have some mid prio, and let him scale up and farm the side lanes, get back up in XP, keep pushing out sides, and then being relevant by just grouping up with his team to negate DAMWON's snowball.
And I think in the same way that Khan, playing weak side, had to rely on the rest of his team to try to bring him back into the game, now Faker must do the same with the rookie members of this lineup. Again, carry a decent amount of experience. He has a ton of experience, certainly the most veteran player on the stage, but Gumayushi, Owner, Kana, all players who were brought up in the T1 system, all trainees brought up, and yes, they've made it this far in the semifinals, but can they bring it home when Faker's been put so far down?
I want to see how Kana is going to perform in what is a very high-pressure game here. This is match point. You could potentially take down DAMWON. You could really see the nerves in the Kennen game last time around. This game, he is the one playing from a big advantage. Faker is way behind. He has got to really rise to the occasion here and show that he can hang with the best of them.
Yeah, and it feels like Showmaker has been the consistent factor for DAMWON all year long, this year especially. You look at their MSI run, he's just blind picking Zoe and carrying games single-handedly. Despite losing that Titan and losing to RNG in that best of 5, their consistent factor was Showmaker. You know he's a man when he's ahead. He's not going to make mistakes. He's going to close out the game properly, and he can be a voice from ahead to snowball the game.
Playing with fire a little bit there in the mid lane, but I think it's certainly a good call out, Cadril. When you're a 2-0-1 LeBlanc and mid lane tower is already down, it's absolutely full control over this game and over this map. Faker has to be so careful about stepping forward. Canyon can walk up here, but can't afford to overcommit. Owner in the area. Gonna get knocked back there by the Herald as the charge does come through, but they won't be able to grab a second tower on the bottom side.
Yeah, T1 hanging on for now, but the question is, when do you make your move forward? When can you actually get on the map and be proactive? Is it just game 1 all over again, where you're playing Jace Rise and you're sitting back and you're praying for a win condition through sides? Because right now, the gold lead isn't massive, but DAMWON are dictating everything. DAMWON are going to get this next dragon. They are going to force you to come to them for that 3rd dragon fight, and that's where things are going to get really scary for T1, because the clock is ticking.
And if you are pushing into Fog of War against a LeBlanc, when you have so few reliable lockdown tools to stop her, it is incredibly difficult to play the game. Yes, you can polymorph her. Yes, you can go for the Everfrost if she leaps directly into you, but Showmaker's not a player that's going to let that happen, and Jarvan is not a champion who provides CC fast enough to stop it.
Yeah, target selection is going to be the aim of the game for T1 here, with their kind of backs against the wall, because they're just getting pushed so far back into their own jungle. Faker's Root, Faker's Everfrost, and Carrier's W, the Polymorph. Those are the spells that can really lock down Showmaker. Anything else can be dodged away from. So they need to make sure that target selection is crisp, as Beryl does dash away from Owner. Similar to the Lissandra game, we saw Faker shut down Showmaker in the Dragon fights. The same thing needs to happen this time around, but they have less tools to do it.
Yeah, they have less tools and they have less immediate tools. So even the root from the Rise, needs to be prepped. You have to do the Spell Flux, then the root to actually land that. There's the delay, as you said, on the Jarvan knock up as well. So we'll see if Carry can find that instant polymorph or something along those lines. Gumayusi is very strong right now. He is ahead. He actually skipped boots to just rush straight to a 2-item power spike here. Does have the Gale Force, has the Essence Reaver, so he's going to crit Lucian. And it's something that scales really, really well now with this style of build and with an Enchanter in your back pocket.
Definitely something we need to keep our eye on, especially as he was the player with the big leads in the laning phase, almost 200 CS to the 159 of Ghost. And Ghost is doing what he can to catch back up in this game, but he is just going to be utility at this moment, whereas Gumayusi has the damage to carry a fight if he's positioned to do so. Always has to be careful and can never afford to get chained here, or things could turn against him so rapidly. He does not have the cleanse, he does not have the QSS. He opted for the exhaust, which will mitigate the damage, but if the CC comes through, DAMWON Kia have the follow-up.
And this game is going to play out exactly as the last 3 games have played. Cross maps traded for side lane towers, and then matching towards mid. That's exactly what's going to happen when this next dragon spawns in 3 minutes. Both teams are going to group up mid, and they're going to go aggressive.
Gumayusi, Gale Force is traded back and forth. Canyon in the midst of the entire team. The knockup is there, Wild Growth, but now Gumayusi is overstayed as well. Carry needs to move forward to buy block. That's going to be the cast. Now Faker knocked back the entire team, and he's just so squishy. That's the lockup coming in from Showmaker. He's fishing for a few more kills. T1 pulling back in the mid lane. DWG Kia, the flash forward, the body slam. Carrier gonna get locked up. No, the flash comes out, but Showmaker still manages to find the kill on a rampage. He will not go out quickly. Now Showmaker leaping in. Oh, baby, not the next Faker. Showmaker popping off.
Welcome to the show. 5-0-1. DAMWON up against it, and who else but Showmaker, their star, to push them to a potential game 5 here. He is looking amazing in this game number 4. And T1 went for a proactive play. You could feel the desperation a little bit. They want to make something happen. They want to find a look here. And Gumayusi knows that he's going in with the ultimate. He follows the Gale Force with one of his own. The exhaust comes through on Canyon, but the CC is there for so long.
Yeah, and as you see it in the Axe effect replay, Gumayusi is the one who tries to start the game in a snowballing effect by going aggressive onto Ghost and pushing him back and getting his summoners. The problem is there's no objective there available, even if the play does work out. And who's ready to respond to mistakes and overextensions? It's Showmaker. He arrives just in time and cleans up, and he's going to solo kill Faker!
Oh, Showmaker showing up here when it matters most. Game 4, 6-0-1. You just cannot outplay a LeBlanc that is that fed.
Absolutely, and it's just such a battle between these two legendary teams. It's T1, the greatest organization of all time, Faker, the undisputed greatest player of all time, coming up against DAMWON, who has been on such an incredible run over these last 2 years, trying to build up their resume, to challenge as one of those greats, as one of those organizations that will never be forgotten. And they're making a great case for themselves.
And now, when you look ahead towards what could be a game 5, we're not there yet, but it's a 4K lead, and DWG Kia are in control. DWG Kia trying to push away the T1 legacy as the most famous, as the most successful organization in the world, and certainly the most successful organization coming out of the LCK to go back to finals, to try to defend their trophy. If they can do that, they become the next name on a list alongside T1. Below them, organizations like Gen G, formerly Samsung, who have tried to make it, who have found multiple titles. DWG Kia will be up there with the greatest of all time.
Yeah, and it all comes off the back of Showmaker. 4,000 gold ahead of Faker as he looks for his one step closer to a 4th world title. 3 levels up as well. Showmaker dominates the entire map right now. Look at where T1 are standing. No one can walk up on any lane until they see where Showmaker is. 30 seconds on the next dragon will put DAMWON on Mountain Soul Point.
As a stopwatch, as a 10-stack Medjai's, no one can afford to walk alone through Fog of War on the side of T1. Showmaker going to be able to easily pick up these kills if he sees a single opportunity. So hard now for T1 to find a way to play out of this game. Maybe they can find a pick on someone who isn't Showmaker. Maybe they can lock down Ghost, but Barrel's in the area, Canyon's in the area. T1 have to be careful. Every decision they make with Showmaker in the fight is high risk at this point in the game.
And your hope as T1 is to somehow lock down Showmaker, burst him down, because he is the gold lead for DAMWON. If you can somehow eliminate that player, you can maybe make something happen, but is it desperation time here for T1? Are they willing to do something like a risky Baron or some sort of crazy engage and try to flip the game?
Yeah, T1 have to look for some kind of super play right now. They're just so far behind and they don't have the tools to negate the LeBlanc in fights. Forcing Nash or forcing some kind of play is what they have to do, because the longer this game goes, the worse it gets. Showmaker is only going to get stronger, and they're on Mountain Soul Point now, DAMWON. So T1 pushing down mid, haven't found anything.
T1 are so far behind that even looking at that Baron cost them a Dragon and a Tier 2 tower. They only getting further down as DAMWON Kia look to bring us to a Game 5.
And T1 didn't even clear out the pit. There's still a ward sitting there, so there was no risk ever for DAMWON. You're never going to check into the river when you see T1 isn't starting the Baron, and T1 just didn't clear that out. So Khan pushes for free on bot side, takes the Tier 2. Canyon solos out that Dragon, and the three-man squad here from DAMWON just sit mid, pick up the farm, and continue that march towards what looks to be that inevitable 5th game.
Faker clearing out on the side lane, have to grab as much farm as humanly possible. But again, T1 in general just have to grasp at straws, have to look for singular opportunities, have to hope and pray that DAMWON overextend or overcommit. In an even fight, there is no way they can come out on top. Maybe if Showmaker's off on a side lane, but you can see he's focused, he stays grouped with the team. Beryl fishing for an engage. He's gonna go fast, activate the Shurelias, but will not find the engage. T1 holding on, holding their ground, but eventually this Baron will be threatened by DAMWON Kia, and they will need to find a way to force a fight.
Yeah, T1's only strong point right now is Gumayushi. He's up a level on Ghost, and we've seen what Ghost does against Lucians in mid lane when they're ahead against Rogue. Hans was able to find the picks to get Rogue back in the game. Can Gumayushi do the same on T1? Has the Lucian, is up in CS, and has a Lulu next to him, Owner.
Locked up, just a bit of poke damage now. Gumayushi still stepping forward. Big calling, trying to isolate Ghost. Showmaker coming in off to the side. That's going to be the Gragas on the backside. Keep your eyes on Khan. Body slam flash is an option. He's going to move in. Faker flashing over the wall, just trying to make it out to safety. But Canyon on the chase. He's going to find the root on the Faker, the stun into the wall. And there is Beryl. The gold lead too big. DAMWON Kia dominated the early game. And they're going to remind T1 why they were the favorites coming into this series as they run them down. Showmaker, though, low on mana, leaping back. Gumayushi, maybe he can get the shutdown. No, holding on for now. Keria and Gumayushi want to get something done, but Ghost will get a bit of revenge. And now Keria has to run for the hills. The body slam flash, the ace coming in for DAMWON Kia.
Yeah, Showmaker's just playing with them at this point, chasing them all down. 5 kills to 0. I think DAMWON can turn towards this Baron. Showmaker has TP. This is an absolute statement game coming in from DAMWON. Backs against the wall. Match point down to T1, and they're demolishing them.
It's obliteration here. 5,000 gold lead here for Showmaker over Faker. Him and Canyon working incredibly well in the early game to punish Faker. Then Beryl getting involved. This squad being so proactive, so aggressive, always pushing their advantages here in this 4th game.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you give agency like LeBlanc and Kiana into Rise to the best jungler in the world and the new modern era mid laner, the best mid laner of the LCK. They just run you over. Showmaker can just take over in these fights. There's no one who can lock him down, and even when you think you've got him, he pops the stopwatch.
And that's that luxury item we talk about. That 5K gold lead, he's happy to spend about 600 of that into a stopwatch to keep him alive in these plays. This man can play on the edge of madness every single time, keeping those stacks alive and well, keeping those damage numbers high. 3.8K from LeBlanc.
And now he bought a Zhonya's, just completed the full Zhonya's off of that. Bad goes to worse when you see that inventory now on Showmaker. And for T1, you're hoping for the miracle, but realistically, you're planning for Game 5. You're thinking about what you could change. And to me, this series has been defined by proactivity, the teams that can go aggressive, that can dictate plays. And in Game 4, it has been all about DAMWON. It was T1 going for this 5th pick Lulu, trying to dominate lane, Beryl circumventing it entirely by moving around the map, and Faker just getting picked on by this aggressive squad.
Showmaker leaping forward without fear. Easy for him to just threaten with all of these cooldowns as DAMWON Kia push in on the top side. Baron empowered minions backing them up as they break down these tier 2s. Khan just ushering a wave in the mid lane when Faker just tries to get anything back on the side lane. Echoes of Game 1. They're important to remember. T1, they got this far in the series because they've adapted, because they've grown from what they showed us in the past. But that said, Showmaker a constant threat, stopping them from getting anything else in this game.
Yeah, DAMWON playing on 2 lanes here, just pushing T1 back. Showmaker single-handedly forcing T1 back to their Nexus, which allows the rest of DAMWON to push forwards. This top tier 3 is going to fall 30 seconds on the Mountain Dragon, so maybe DAMWON want to play it safe after this siege and just beeline towards the Dragon and pick that up. But for now, they're in full control.
Showmaker now 16 as well. Really low cooldown on that ultimate, and he's going in on Owner.
Big damage, the minion there to body block the chain, though. Keeping him alive as the Sigil of Silence cannot be proc, Sigil of Malice, rather. DAMWON Kia breaking into the mid lane, looking to break down their second inhibitor. Again, slow, controlled victory. They are still on the cusp of losing. They are still 1-2 down. They need to win here to bring it back for Game 5, to bring it back for Silver Scrapes and their shot at the finals.
And DAMWON are the ones pushing T1 to Game 5. T1 are not the ones pushing DAMWON to Game 5.
Yeah.
And it's all your lives on the line. Everything you've been working for this whole year, everything Faker's been working for the last 5 years is in the next game, because this one all but feels done.
And a lot of people were saying this one wasn't going to go to 5 games. They thought DAMWON would be the one stomping it, but it was DAMWON here having to fight back against T1, who had an incredible Game 2, an incredible Game 3 here.
And this is the DAMWON we expected coming into this series. Game 1 in this game, just utter domination from start to finish. T1 in their wins, just weathering objectives, having better drafts, having better late game scaling, and then just outplaying in team fights with Lockdown and CC. But DAMWON, all that's left is the bot push, and T1 are hoping for a miracle.
Holding on, praying. Level 14 now for Faker, only 2 items under his belt, 28 minutes in. It's a Dragon Soul, a Mountain Soul for DAMWON Kia. The burst damage will not be enough to kill most of these members. They have to focus, they have to find a single target, and they have to cross their fingers hoping that someone overextends or overcommits, but it's a slow, controlled siege from DAMWON Kia. Showmaker now just showing on vision. T1 have to play carefully here. The calling out just to come down for a little bit of poke. Khan steps in, big damage onto Owner. That's the lockup, curtain call coming in. You have to feel like this is it for T1. They're forced away from the tower. This will be the inhibitor tower falling. Third inhibitor to fall. Kana just barely able to make it out.
And with the supers crashing in mid, crashing in top, the bottom inhib will fall. DAMWON closing the noose here, looking to finish up this game.
Leading T1 out, 3 inhibitors down. They can wait, they can take their time, but Showmaker keeps leaping forward. So much damage onto Carrier. T1, they fought well to bring us to match point, but they'll get knocked down in Game 4. T1 holding on for as long as they can, but they know this one is over. DAMWON Kia pushing in, breaking the brace. Showmaker, legendary, a triple kill to finish, and DAMWON Kia will bring us to Game 5.
11-0-3, Showmaker. He wants to be the face of League of Legends. He is the face of modern LCK era, and he is trying to make his legend here at Worlds. What an incredible game against Faker's Rise, utilizing his signature LeBlanc and just dominating T1.
That game was extremely dominant from DAMWON, yes, but I feel like these two teams are just so evenly matched with different strengths, right? DAMWON's strength just coming from more flexibility, more draft kind of flexibility in terms of shutting down what DAMWON want to do and then utilizing the tools they're given to make sure they win the fights around objectives. DAMWON's just well-oiled machines from start to finish, know what their win condition is, and they try their best to execute upon it.
Gentlemen, what a best of 5. We're on the cusp of Game 5. This was the matchup that everyone wanted, and now we get to see these teams face off in a Game 5 as DAMWON Kia's dream of back-to-back titles stays alive. Don't go anywhere.